Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Sam Brock, who is in Bowdoin, Maine tonight. Sam, talk to us about the manhunt. Do we know, is there any sign of where this man might be?
Sure. So Robert Card, Jake, is from Bowdoin, where I am right now. This is his family house down the street here. I actually can only get this far. Police, I'm told from folks we had on the ground here when this all started about 30 or 40 minutes ago, pushed everybody back. It is darkness under normal circumstances with 30 or 40, 50 reporters out here. You would see lights everywhere. They've told us not to use lights, so it may be hard to see me. Overhead, you can also hear a helicopter going around right now, and there have been multiple drones in the air. All of this might lead you to think that the end of this manhunt could be near, that something is really happening, there's movement right now. I would pump the brakes on that immediately based on what Maine State Police just tweeted out or put on X, which is namely that this family home over my shoulder has a couple of different parts to it, and they say it is standard practice to go through and execute search warrants. That is what they are doing right now. According to the police, they are executing a search warrant without knowing in this tweet or in this post whether or not Robert Card is actually inside the home. Now, our folks here also, Jake, did hear police say, come out with your hands up. That has spawned reports that there was a confrontation going on and they were trying to get Card to come out of the home. Police also said that is standard practice before executing any search warrant to do that. Doesn't mean he's in the house, doesn't mean he's not in the house. But obviously with the amount of just sheer presence of law enforcement and media here right now, one would make assumptions. I will say when I walked up here, and we're probably a good, again, I don't know, half a mile at least from the family home. There was 6, 7, 8 police cars on the street. Then there's a physical barricade with other officers over my shoulder, which you probably can't see from here. And then all the way up this hill, that's where the family house is. Jake, I was also here about 10 hours ago talking to a neighbor. Hundreds of acres where I'm standing right now all belong to the Card family. They own a ton of land here. And what this gentleman told me, who was childhood neighbors with Robert Card, is that there is an assumption that because his father's name was on this house, people were assuming he was there, that there potentially could be movements over there at this specific property, which isn't even where he lives. So there's been a lot of confusion. But right now, one thing is for certain, there is a very, very heavy police presence here. We just don't know why, and we're waiting for answers.
So, Sam, just to be absolutely clear for people watching, obviously you are being as careful as you can. There is a real sense of urgency around this scene, but as far as we can tell, this is just police going through the standard choreography of going to an address associated with the man. It does not mean that he is there or that there is a confrontation underway right now.
That's a very good characterization. They've said that this is doing their due diligence. Literally, those were the words that Maine State Police used in the post. It doesn't mean that Robert Card isn't in there. It just means that they are saying, do not draw assumptions based on the fact you have all of these people out here. And as you can probably hear, Jake, the sounds of the helicopter above. I will tell you, in a day and a half on this so far, I have not seen this level of presence. Certainly not this much activity from above and on the ground. But again, it doesn't mean anything yet. We are waiting for police to make some sort of address.
Thank you for that clarity, Sam. So reacquaint us with who Robert Card is. What have you been hearing from residents there about who he is, and what do authorities know about him so far?
Yeah, there are quite a few revelations on that front today. Card is a 40-year-old who has spent a couple of decades, according to both police sources and people that I've spoken with in armed services, as an Army reservist. He's someone who is proficient in weapons. In fact, we spoke with someone who is a former Army reservist, not in the same unit as Card, but had actually been trained by him on an M16 rifle. And what he told us was that it is scary how good Robert Card is with weapons. He said, you know, he understands the tactical sides of things. He understands warfare. I mean, this really made the hair on the back of my neck stand up, Jake, to hear a description like that based on someone that we know authorities is hunting for right now. So we know that. We also know that his sister-in-law and some members of the family had come out and confirmed that he had trouble with what he said were voices in his head. They were deeply concerned about his mental state and had reported it to the military and also to the police. And in fact, over the course of the summer, several sources tell NBC News that it is true he was intervened by police and taken to a mental care facility for a couple of weeks in July. This is the same person who is in possession, apparently, of a semi-automatic weapon. And I did ask that question to police today. How could it be that after this individual voiced all of these concerns about his own mental stability, he still can have a weapon. And no one could seem to answer that question, although there are no red flag laws in Maine. I know that's getting talked about considerably. There's yellow flag laws, but no red flag laws, which means that you would need someone to deem him mentally unstable to take away the weapon. And it's just one of those things right now where perhaps many people are second guessing how this could be. But the reality is someone who is self-avowed at this point to have issues with mental health was armed, and police believe is responsible for all of these murders.
A trained warrior, obviously so troubled, he went to authorities looking for help and is now on the loose and heavily armed. Sam, you've obviously been there for a day or so now. Give us some sense of the place. I understand Bowdoin is a very small town, just a few thousand people. Give us some sense of where Robert Card is from and what the community's response is to this at this hour.
Sure. So to your first question, Bowdoin is like 3,200 people. Lewiston, I believe, is the second largest city in Maine, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 38,000. But if you're looking collectively, Jake, at Auburn, Lewiston, Bowdoin, it's really more like 50, 60,000 people. We're not talking about a huge population or geographic area. But the reality is right now, he may not necessarily be in this state. No one could answer the question whether he's here, whether he's still alive. We know that other states have not issued shelters in place like what we've seen here, but they are certainly remaining vigilant, and resources are pouring in right now from New York and from Boston, FBI field offices all throughout the area, state, federal, local, hundreds of people on the ground right now trying to find this man. But as far as the community reaction is concerned, several times today, I spoke with people who said, you know, he's a good guy. And I don't know what happened. I saw a mom with her son in a convenience store, like the only store that was open in this entire town. And she said, you know, you could see the pain in her face. He was a good guy. I don't know. I don't want to talk to you right now, but I don't know how this could have gone so south. And I've heard that from quite a few people.
At this hour, a troubled man on the loose in a small community. Sam Brock, thank you so much for this, and thank you so much for the clarity around the obviously urgent scene behind you, but one that does not bring a clear end to this manhunt. Sam Brock, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.